Hello everyone, welcome to the third video of my DDLC modding beginners tutorial. Today we are going to talk about transitions and text tags. So let's get right into it. Oh, let's start with transitions. What exactly do I mean by transitions? If we go to the mod that we made on the previous episode, you can see that, for example, when we go to the new scene in MC's room, the background just appears instantly. There's no transition between the scenes. So this is what we want to fix today. And I want to take this opportunity to talk to you about the RenPy documentation. If we go here and we search for example, RenPy transitions, you can see that the first result here is RenPy documentation. This is essentially RenPy's user manual. It has information about pretty much every function that exists in RenPy. And if you want to learn more about some function, this is probably the first place you want to check out. So in the transitions documentation of RenPy, we can see that there are a lot of predefined transitions that we can use. At the top here, we can also see that transitions are used with the with keyword. So let's see this in action. Let's use, for example, fade, which is the first transition on the list. We go here to what we want to show, scene BG bedroom in this case, and we are going to say with fade. We do the regular show, add the with and the transition that we want to see. And if we go here, you can see that now, as it says here in the description, it takes 0.5 seconds to fade to black and then fade to the new screen, which is exactly what happens here. Let's try another one, for example, dissolve. Just go here, switch it for dissolve, and it shows a dissolve instead of the fade. So you can just come here to this web page, if the transitions in RenPy documentation in this case, and see all the transitions that are available and use them as you see fit. Another thing is these transition classes below it. They allow you to somewhat customize a transition. They are still mostly automatic. Most of them just allow you to customize the time that something takes to happen. For example, you just saw the previous dissolve, the predefined dissolve is very fast, just takes 0.5 seconds. But if we use this dissolve, you can see that we can pass them a time. So if we go here and we switch this dissolve for a dissolve with a capital D, as you can see here, and give it a time, let's give it a big time, for example 5, so it's really obvious what it's happening. And you can see that now it's going to take a lot longer to dissolve. A lot of these transition classes take more than one argument. For example, you can see that dissolve also takes a time warp and a mip map, but I'm going to suggest that you don't worry about this because they are pretty complex. But for example, fade, which we saw before, fades to black and then fades to the next scene, allows you to customize how much time each section of the transition lasts, as well as the color that's used in between. You can see here it has examples of how to use them. Most of these have examples of how to use them. So let's try this fade. For example, if we just say fade, let's say we want to first fade quickly to the black screen, then hold the black screen for longer and take a lot of time to come out of the black screen, for example. And we can see that if we come here, it fades quickly, it holds a bit in black, and then very slowly comes back to the next scene. You can also give it a color, with the color equals, let's say, fully white. Instead of black, it's going to use white. But like I said before, the best thing that you can do is come to this page, see which transitions are available, and use them as you need them. Most of these have examples below how to use them, so it's really not that complicated, and you can always get help from the Discord if you need so. These transitions work for any displayable, so they will also work for the characters, for example. If we go here in the beginning, we can see that when we hide Yuri, she just disappears instantly. But we can, for example, do hide Yuri with fade, and she will disappear with a fade, which looks pretty bad because it makes the whole screen black. But something that makes more sense for a character is, for example, dissolve, which dissolves the character, or one that you can find in the predefined transitions, move out, which makes the character or the image move out. Let's say move out left, and she will move out left. But when it comes to DDLC specifically, the Salvato team defined a good amount of transforms that act as transitions of sorts, so I want to tell you about those. These transitions in the latest mod template at least live in definitions transforms.rpy in the definitions folder, and they start here around line 88. We have 3 ways to hide characters, and then a lot of transforms that I'm going to talk to you in a minute. But let's start with the hides. To use these, you do, for example, let's use the first one, t-hide. You do show whatever character you're hiding at t-hide, and then in the next line, you do hide and that same character. These 2 lines combined will hide the character using t-hide. As you can see, t-hide is a small fade. We also have l-hide and r-hide. These make the character go off screen to the right or to the left respectively with an R and with an L. As you can see. The other transforms are similar to what we learned in the previous episode about the T's and then the letters that define where they are on the screen. We already learned about the T's, but it's probably worth pointing out that the T's also have a small fade when a character appears. If I do new game, you can see that the characters fade in instead of just popping in. When it comes to transitions, the ones that you want to use probably, besides the hides, are these L and R. These make the characters appear on screen from the left and from the right respectively. So here, if I say Sayori at L41 instead of T41, I'm going to see that when I start the game, Sayori comes from the left instead of just appearing. Same if I do Yuri from the right, for example. You can see she comes in from the right. This is useful, especially because it combines the positioning and the transition into one, so you don't have to worry about both. Since we're already talking about these transforms, I want to talk about the rest of these that are here. These make the character move in some way. For example, F is a transform that is used when you want to make the character a little bit bigger to make it obvious that they're the one that are talking. This is used a lot in the original game. So for example, I can go here and when Sayori is talking, I'm going to do at F for 1, F for focus. You can see that when she starts talking in the next sentence, she gets a little bit bigger. You also have, for example, H for 1, which stands for hop, which makes the character do a little hop in place, as you can see. All of these have a small text above them describing what they actually do, so I recommend also that you go to this file and look at these transforms. The last one is here. This is more complicated things that you don't need to worry for now. But I recommend that you take a look at these, the ones that exist, and make use of them. It's probably also worth pointing out that if you want characters to change places on screen, you can just give them a new at and they will change places. So for example, let's say that after MC talks, I want Sayori and Yuri to switch places. I can just give Sayori a new position, give Yuri a new position, and they will switch smoothly. All these transforms already do these movements smoothly, and you don't need to worry about that. Another transitions that I want to talk to you about is two transitions that were also defined by the Salvato team that modders use very commonly, which are a slight modification of the wipe left and wipe right transitions that come with RenPy by default. You can see that wipe left, for example, I'm going to do it here. Wipe left, whoops, I can't write. Wipe left does a wipe from left to right, and it just shows the image immediately. The Salvato team defined wipe left scene, which instead of wiping immediately, first wipes to black and then wipes back to the scene. In my opinion, and I think many people share that opinion, the little bit of black in between the scenes really gives that feeling of some time passing and moving places, instead of just showing the two images directly, which doesn't really trigger your brain or the brain of the reader to say that something really changed. So these are usually quite useful and used very commonly. Another thing I want to point out is how to make multiple things on screen be affected by the same transition. For example, here, if I make this really big to make it obvious what's happening, you can see that when I run this transition, first the transition of the scene happens completely, and only when it's finished does Sayori appear. But what if I want to make the background and Sayori appear at the same time? Well, what you do is you remove this width from here, you do all the scenes and all the shows that you wanna. You can put more shows here if you want, as many as you want, and you put the width with a transition below everything. That way, if you have multiple shows and the transition on the bottom, all the shows are going to be affected at the same time. So you can see that if I run this again, both the background and Sayori are affected by the dissolve at the same time. Lastly, for transitions, we have music transitions. A lot of times when you're starting or stopping a new music, you want it to happen continuously instead of abruptly. This is pretty easy to do. You just do, for example, let's say you're in the beginning, let's do play music, fade in, and between parentheses the amount of time to fades in. I'm going to put a big number so it's obvious what is happening. And if I turn on the music and I go back to the main menu and I start a new game, you can hear that the music comes from below and slowly brings up the volume. To do stop, it's exactly the same thing, but instead of fade in, you do fade out. And again, the amount of time to do the fade over. And after Sayori talks, you can hear that the music slowly goes away. And for now, that's pretty much all you need to know for the transitions. This should allow you to make your mod look pretty smooth overall and should cover you for 99% of cases. So let's move on to text tags. Text tags are little tags that allow you to change the text in some way. For example, if you want to make the text bold, this is how you do it. Again, let's take a look at the RenPy documentation. Let's search for RenPy text tags. You can see there is documentation on text. Since we're talking about text, I'm going to talk about something related, that is how to put the player name in the text. This is the name that the person playing your mod will input at the beginning if you choose to do so. So let's say here in this sentence, I want to make the MC say I am the MC, my name is... You can't just put any name because that's not a name, probably not a name that your player inputted. So what you want to do is put square brackets and in the middle write player. You can see that here, you just turn off the music. It's going to substitute this with the name that you gave it in the beginning. I call the MC DDLC, so this is the name that appears here. When it comes to text tags, you can see below this, in styling and text tags, that there really are a lot of them. Let's start with a simple one, for example, bold. You can see that bold uses the letter B, and you can see in this example that you use brackets. So let's see how this works. Say I want to make the MC, the words DMC, bold. So I'm going to open brackets, put a B inside, and on the end of the part I want to be bold, I'm going to put another B, but to show that it's the end, I'm going to put a /. You're going to see that in game, whatever is between these two tags is in bold. Let's try, for example, italics. I'm going to put italics, it's an I. The same thing, to close them, it's /I. Oops, /I. And you can see that my name is in italics. You can also mix text tags. So for example, I can put I here and here, and this text is both bold and italic. Now once again, the best thing you can do is go over this documentation and see what's available. I just want to point out that overall there are 3 types of text tags. The first one is this one that we already have here, that has an opening tag and a closing tag. There are other that are self-closing, which means they don't need a closing tag. A very commonly used one in a lot of mods is one that's below here in the dialog text tags, which is NW, that stands for no wait. What no wait does is, let's write here, you can see that I put in I am Sayori, no wait, it's going to make it so it skips to the next line without waiting for the player to click the mouse. So I'm here, Sayori says I am Sayori, and it immediately skipped to the next line. I didn't click anything. And as you can see, these don't need a closing tag. The third type is, for example, the W tag, which can take an argument with an equal sign. These are tags that take some value that change the way they work. For example, the wait tag makes it so there is a pause in the middle of the text. For example, if I put here brackets W equals 2.0, this is going to make a wait after this word of 2 seconds. And if I go here, I am girl. Once again, most of these, or almost all of these, have examples below each one so you can see how they're used. So it really shouldn't be too hard to get them to work. And that is going to be it for today. In the next episode, we will learn how to add custom artwork to the game, be it music, backgrounds, characters. We're going to see how to have your own artwork that is not already inside the DLC. Once again, if you have any questions, the best place is to put them in the Doki Doki Modding Club Discord server in the Mod Help text channel. This will be the fastest place to get an answer. If you don't have Discord, you can put them in the comments of this video and I will try to answer as quickly as possible. And see you in the next one.